All right. Hello, universe. Hello, barbarians. It's Alex Soto once again here for another episode of Articulate Barbarian. And this time, ladies and gentlemen, I got an interesting person with an interesting story. And it's one of the things that, based on my gurus, and there's no sugarcoating around it. My guru is Joe Rogan, and when people are asked, well, what kind of podcast do you have? Without riding Joe Rogan's dick all the time, which I do anyway. Shout out Joe Rogan. If you're ever in the Southeast, come holler at me. But that's my internet bromance, is Joe Rogan. So basically, his success in his podcast is because he goes after things that he's interested in. And this is an interesting conversation because this is something I'm very interested in. And then in the second half of this interview, we're going to talk about something else, and I'll bring that up. But let's first introduce my guest today is Travis McCartney.
How are you?
Travis, say hello to the world.
Hello, world.
Hello, universe.
Hello, universe.
All right, so I met Travis based on again, with this whole social media thing, which Pop is fairly new at. I'm reaching out and I'm doing my thing, trying to get my social media up, promote. Shout out Articulate Promotions. And I get a return back from a guy who's interested in coming to one of my shows. So the guy comes out, and I'm trying my best to be involved with the people when they go back and forth with me. I want to meet him. I want to talk to him. And he explained that he does, what is it exactly that? I don't want to say it and butcher it. So what is it that you do?
I'm a drone specialist.
Drone specialist. Get right up on the mic just like this.
Drone specialist.
All right, so drone specialist. All right, so immediately Pop is thinking like, this is where I was at the age now where I'm like skeptical hippo face about drones. I know and I see the importance of them, but there's still a part of me that's creeped out by them because I was that Big Brother generation. So you are a drone specialist.
I'm sure there's more words for it than that, but that's just what I consider myself.
And bricks and mortar, is he talking too quiet? Is he good? Okay. So, and that's the point. The universe likes it when we just stop everything and talk shit. So, okay. So you are hired to do aerial shots?
Yeah, mainly for real estate. I'm trying to get into the construction field now because of the 3D mapping technology that comes, they're coming out with new ones every day, and it's just getting easier and easier to do. Right. So to me, I'm just trying to find a way to get my little niche in there because this market's about to explode.
So I'll tell you something just off the top of my head. I know somebody who her specialty is doing that where you virtually go through the house, the real estate.
Yeah, that's...
So and she can virtually go in the garage and stuff. So immediately, I'm thinking a million things that we can make money with doing this. Not me make money, but in regards, I look at everything from the business perspective. Thanks, Mom. This is German side in me, numbers. So immediately I'm thinking, man, she could do aerial shots with you, and then do her inside shots, and then sell it as a package. You know what I mean? And it's like there's so many, and I remember there was this big wedding. It was an Indian wedding. I had nothing to do with it. I only listened to the story. And this was back when they first came out. And these people actually, they were very wealthy Indian wedding. And it's those multiple days. And I don't want to butcher y'all's beliefs. It has nothing to do with negative. I'm just saying that they had drones to film the parade. There was a parade going into the hotel. They shut down the whole block. And this huge traditional thing happened, and they had the drones, and that was like, oh, they had drones, ooh, impressive. Like, they were more impressed by the drones.
Yeah, people seem to really, I get people that stop their cars, and I mean in the middle of the road, to ask me about the drone. Traffic behind them, they don't care.
Right, no doubt.
They'll just stop because it's just so fascinating.
And so you were telling me about things that you have to know in order to just get into the business. Let's talk about that, and then we'll talk about what you're doing with it next.
Well, you have to take a test with the FAA, and in that test there is things like TANFs, which are weather forecasts, but they're in a language that you've never seen before in your life. It's normally just a bunch of letters and numbers, and you have to decipher what they mean. So I had to learn everything that pilots have to know, not as far as flying a plane or an instrumental or anything like that, but I had to learn like airspace and where I can fly, the restrictions. There's a map that they make for all pilots, and you've got to be able to read this thing, and there's so much stuff on it that it's hard to find what you're looking for. So it's a very hard test. It's not like something that I think anybody can do just right off the cuff. It took months of me just sitting around trying to figure out airspace. That's the hardest thing.
And then So I'm envisioning, like, because again, I'm slow when it comes to technology, and I'm real sketchy about these kind of things. I usually leave it. I always say there are certain things that I leave to professionals, but I'm imagining you must have bought it and went out in the field and just started riding around with it.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do, right?
Yeah, it was an impulse buy. It was just something that, like I said, I just got divorced. I had a nice little amount of money. I wanted to do something, and I'd always seen the YouTube videos of them flying over, beaches in California with the cliffs and everything else, and I just I could do that. I mean, I figured what the hell, I've been able to fly one of those little RC helicopters. How hard could it be? Well, if it wasn't for that drone right there, though, I don't think I would have been able to fly it because, as you saw earlier, it's without the satellite positioning, it goes where it wants to go. It doesn't.
Yeah, we can talk about that. So I have this great idea. I'm like, can you make the machine, the drone, rise up in front of the camera, kind of look towards the camera without hitting the camera, back up, and then go down again? So we were doing some I'm so glad we did some test runs because... And you explain what happened, because I know what happened, but I'm going to say it and it's going to be all fucked up.
It has certain things. It has a barometer and an altimeter, but it has GPS. Inside of this studio, we don't have the GPS because the walls and everything else. So it had no way to keep itself relative. And with the walls being so close and with the ceiling being so close, it was just the wind was pushing it. The draft off the bottom of this it will blow dry your hair. I mean, it blew everything that wasn't clean. Yeah, so I mean, it put some air down, so it was hard to hold it in position. When I was with the satellite, like outside, when the satellites are on it, it will stop and move. You can let go of it, you can set it down, get yourself a drink, go to the bathroom, come back, and it'll be in the exact same position. So I mean, it's completely autonomous too. I can have it. I could put it outside, go on the map on here, and draw out how I want it to go, and then it'll follow. It'll go to that height and follow, and then come back and land. Same way with the mapping technology, the ground map.
Isn't that something?
What I can do now is I give it what I want it to do. I lay out a grid, and I have it follow a certain pattern, and it takes pictures of the ground at a certain level, whatever height I deem. And then what I can do is I download that onto their website, and they bring up a 3D map for me of the entire thing. And it's like 3D, it looks like a regular picture. If you get some shots of the outside of it, like let's say you're doing a building.
Right.
If you get some shots going just orbital around the building and point the camera at the building and download those with the shots, you get actual 3D images that you can move around and you can look underneath and see how, I mean, it is amazing what this, and this is just the beginning. That's it's the crazy thing is this is just the beginning. This is going to be a revolution of things that's to come.
One of my favorite, we're actually going to be doing, and we've talked about how we're going to be working together, but we've actually been talking about a couple different promo things, and being that you're all around in the Villages, because we're based out of the Villages, Florida, #1 growing retirement community in the world, the universe. If you're checking out, you want to come hit around the golf in the Villages, Florida before you go. And but there's the first square.
Yes.
Okay. Behind it, over the back part, there's that fountain. It's real beautifully, mosaic. Well, life hack. You want to do something cool, you don't have to ask anybody. Nobody ever goes back there. So you go over, and late in the evenings, you go over to Kilwin's, and they have a metal table and 2 chairs. You drag that motherfucker around over by the fountain, and then you got somebody because I used to have some friends, and I'd be like, hey man, you want to make $20? And they were like, sure. So I made them dress up in a shirt and tie, and we pre-ordered everything from Ruby Tuesdays right there, or Margarita Republic, and then he'll go and bring the food out and wait on the table for you and a date. And then check this out. I got a bunch of other dudes that for $20 will come out, sit at the fountain, and you set that shit up, and it's a surprise. That's a life hack and a motherfucking half right there. As far as a crazy cool date without a lot of money in your pocket, because you don't even have to. You just ask her in advance, in a side. Hey, do you like chicken or steak? Oh, I like chicken. Okay, cool. Don't fucking ask her what she wants. Just order that shit. Because they're gonna bring it. She's gonna be so impressed by everything that just happened.
Yeah, especially.
And you got out of it with not a lot of money in your pocket.
No.
So you see, that's a life hack. So y'all might write that down. So check this out. So in regards to him rolling this thing around, it reminded me of a story. That one time I was on this little boat, and it was my boat. It was a Ginu, which is a flat back, wide body canoe. And I had a buddy of mine that was not a fisherman. He was kind of an introverted guy. And we went out, and I was like 18, 19 years old. A storm blows up. I'm out on Lake Harris down in Leesburg. Storm blows up. Big fucking storm. Now, I know how to do it. My dad is a big time boater, so he taught me all the tricks. But this was a really big storm, so this wave came up, and I'm parallel with the edge. We're trying to make our way back to the ramp, and my dad was like, at some point you just got to know to give up and go to wherever you're at. Just plow into their fucking backyard, and you just sit there until the storm goes by. So I'm crisscrossing into the waves because that's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But on my way back, I got caught with a big wave came through, and what happened was I'm trying to keep everything together, and I look down, and in front of my friend, the front of the boat is underwater. Shit's floating off. Oh, yeah. He turns around and smiles at me because he thinks I'm in control. So the whole time I'm shitting myself, and I go lean back, and the front bloop bloop, and barely we got it out. Because we were really close to the edge. You just came out the other side. So as soon as it just literally the edge of the canoe came up, and that's the rest of it was still underwater. We beached it shortly after. We lift the boat up. I had the thing, pumped the water out. You knew the whole time. But so what happened is when he turned this motherfucker on, it's doing some cool shit. I'm like, that's cool, and I'm like, woo, and I'm like, oh look, he's really cool to the mics. He got good control of this motherfucker. The whole time he's like, dude, that was really close. I thought I was gonna hit something, and I was just like, ding, this is neat, man. So that's a funny little background. So you got into the business, and have you been picking up work right off the bat?
No, it took a little bit because you gotta show them what you want. So I mean, to me, I just did a few for free, and then just to give them the idea, but it's been picking up. It's getting a lot more now.
Well, I think too now that, like I said, between us now with the promotions, because we're doing this social media stuff, and I'm out in the open about it, because what it is the blueprint that I see out west is that you got a bunch of guys that are all in the grind, and they all support each other. So like if you're trying to do something and it's something that I'm interested in immediately, and then on top of that you have a good intellect, you articulate well, and you're a good conversationalist, so immediately I'm like, man, we can work together. I'll promote this through here, because that's what it's about. And there's no money. I'm not asking you for money. No. You're not paying me. I'm not paying you. To me, like I said before,
this is a fun thing to do. I mean, I never envisioned making money with it when I bought it, and I never envisioned until I realized how well the camera was and how easy it was.
Right.
So to me, it's all about the fun. Going to the events, doing this, just being there, being part of it, and being able to capture those parts. That's what's great about it.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's all I really care about, because that's just little things. Is you just start with little things,
right?
And that's how you grow a business.
Well, like I said though, again, okay, so there was a book, and I talk about books that influenced me in my life. There's a book. It's called 1 Minute Millionaire. And it's not a get-rich-quick scheme kind of book. The whole concept of the book is it takes 1 minute to make the decision to either turn the switch on or off, that from this point forward I'm going to do something different. It takes 1 minute to make that decision. And throughout the book it explains all these different varieties and all these different things. The gist of it is you should have 5 things bringing in income, so when 2 are down, 3 are up, and that you always have a little bit. And it's, whether it's your portfolio, it's about, expanding on your portfolio. Again, bought into all of it, use the practices. But one of the things that jumped out at me, and it was just, and the best thing about reading a book is sometimes one section will hit you and it'll move you. Now, there's a lot of moving parts in this book, but one of them was a chapter called The Infinite Network of Friends. And basically what that was in a nutshell, in our lifetime, we can basically know and remember 200 people. So I know 200 people, you know 200 people. So you have an entry-level business where you do this. Well, it just so happens that I might know some realtors that might use you. I might know some promoters that might use you. So, and then vice versa. Now somebody's like, fuck, man, I wish I had a thing where I could do a little bit. Hey, man, guess what? I happen to know that, You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is all part of this thing. And it's so funny because people are so skeptical hippo face towards me. Skeptical hippo face, by the way, folks, is a meme. I know we down here in the South don't fuck with them as much as they do out West, but it's a fucking famous meme. And one time, I skeptical hippo face. It's a picture, and it's a hippo that has this expression on his face like, I don't believe you. It's a big file. It's real cute. Yeah. I fucking Skeptical Hippo faced this chick that I just met that we were talking about dating. And when I went to meet her that night, she's like, why you calling me a fat hippo? Why you calling me a fat hippo? And I'm like, are you serious? That you think that we just met and I'm trying to impress you and my first thing out of the box is you're a fat hippo. That would be my move. Yeah. So anyhow,
that ain't gonna get
skeptical hippo face. God damn it. So, fuck, where was I? What was I saying? Bricks and mortar. Do you remember what I was just saying?
We were talking about promoting each other.
Right, so the infinite network of friends, the bottom line is oh no, I know what it is. People give me the skeptical hippo face when I tell them, look, I just want to do something that we can all enjoy and grow from, and everybody thinks I have an agenda. It drives me nuts. It's not that I don't understand why, but it drives me nuts that this is the state of affairs that we're in.
Yeah.
So this is one of the big things that I'm trying to do with this podcast is explain to people that there are just some people that, look, I ain't going to say any names, but I'm talking to a black comedian. I'm explaining to this person that I'm going to have a show in an urban room and that I want her to come out, and she looked me square in the face and said, but I'm not an urban comic. I took her by the hand, I sat her down, I said, look here now, I don't have time. I'm too fucking old to worry about what is or isn't offensive to your ass. Look, I have nothing else to say, but if you look in the fucking mirror, you're black. You don't have to be an urban comic, but black people will hire you because they're looking for strong black women to be role models.
You don't have to, you can have all kinds of material. And
so it's like, look, they pay cash on the barrel. I don't know how to say it right. So the thing is it blows their minds that I'm doing this for no other reason except I want to connect people. And then here's the deal. The time will come where the next Dave Chappelle will come from somewhere. And when the next Dave Chappelle comes from somewhere, if they happen to be somebody that I'm loyal with, that is a barbarian, when they come back into town, they'll pop in and say, what's up? And I'll have fucking the next Dave Chappelle on the show. I'll have the next whatever the fuck specialist is in your department. I know there's this super amazing YouTuber. Like, he's like the #1 guy, and he's like a kid-friendly, family-friendly guy, and he's a monster. He's got millions and millions and millions of followers.
There's a few.
And he's a huge guy on the they like that. The universe likes hearing boom go by. Because we're deep in the processes of my mansion.
Yes.
In the secret lair. But anyhow, we might not even be in Florida. You never know. No, we are in Florida. We're Florida as fuck. There's nothing we can do about that. But anyhow, the point is that when somebody becomes successful and blows up out of this thing, they're still going to come show us love. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's important.
I'm reaching out to podcasts, and they're like hesitant. Like, they're like, well, what, why would I want my competitor to, come promote themselves? I said, wait, no, we're not competing. We're not competing, bro, because guess who the first person I'm going to call out when we're talking podcasting, shout out, Beer Nation. They're on board. He's a little freaky. He's a little crazy. I love him. But, I'm already about to hit him with the Articulate Promotions facelift. He needs an extreme makeover. Because if I look behind him and see another tarp milk crate and some goddamn oil jugs, I'm about to lose my damn mind.
Yeah.
Much love. But the thing is when I do my show, our big Halloween bash, Beer Nation is going to set up by the road, and we're going to light him up, and he's going to do a live show promoting, because Beer Nation promotes bars. So Beer Nation will be promoting the bar that we work out of. Shout out Orange Blossom Inn, Amy. Articulate Promotions proudly presents Gladiator Workout Room, Thursdays, 8 p.m., 16286 Highway 441, Summerfield, Florida, 34489. What? 399? Wow, fuck it. Who cares what the zip code is?
34991.
34491. So, man, if I would have hit it without fucking tripping, that shit would have been badass.
Had it all the way to the end.
So, anyhow, he's going to do the promotion for his show. He's going to have a show about the bar that he's promoting. And while that's going on, the comics are going to come interview with him. And it's going to be a fucking great show. It'll be the biggest fucking show he's ever done.
Yeah.
And the only reason he's doing this show is because he's the first one that said, what's up back? And it's so funny, like when I went into this thing, and there's a reason I'm talking all this shit. I go out to and again, these are all little nuggets that I'm trying to teach the universe before I go. I mean, we got to fucking get this shit right.
Yeah.
I go to these certain open mics, and there's this little political chimpanzee around the waterhole thing going on with these little younglings over there by the college. And I'm walking up, and I'm talking to them, and they walk off in mid-sentence. They're bad little bastards. And I pick on them because I love them, because I'm trying to teach them something. You know, you never downplay somebody when they speak to you. You look them in the eye, you talk about it, because it's amazing what can happen. Now, all of a sudden, those little kids that used to talk shit about me are watching me. I'm fucking booked all over the place. And I'm not doing this to na boo-boo. I'm saying, guys, we need to extend out love and listen and learn. You know, the one thing that I'm quick to pick on millennials, but I'm also coming to the understanding that it's my fault. It's my generation's fault that these people are the way they are. Yeah. So the bottom line is, folks, we as parents did a piss poor job raising these kids. I'm gonna be real with you. My 2 kids are savages. They got scars. They got hard knocks. They are better suited, I believe, than most millennials, but they're airheaded as fuck. So it's just, I get it. But to add the fact that you're going to be rude, and then you walk away and I see the dirty feet with the flip-flops. Anyways. So here I meet a guy, grown-ass man. He's got a little something, and his aha moment. So every time I've had a person in here who are doing big things, they had this aha moment. Anzia Sky was in a horrible car accident. Zenith Nevers was in a motorcycle accident, and they had these aha moments during these times of great peril. So you're telling me that your divorce?
Yeah, that was after 17 years. You know, that's all. She was all I pretty much knew. I mean, I'm 42 years old. We'd been together since we were 23, I think, 22, 23.
And from the depths of this great time in your life, this crucial crossroads. And this is another thing that I worry about with millennials, because I feel like they're not going to be ready to handle that crossroad because they weren't raised, like, we protected them so much. You know what I mean? We didn't let them drink out of hoses and scrape their knees.
No, we didn't. I agree with that completely. It's like, you know, I try to get my daughter to be open-minded about everything. I said, you know, just don't take everything for granted. I mean, I'm sorry we left you a mess. I'm really sorry. You know, we. How
old was she?
She's 12. She's my youngest, and you know, it's my 18-year-old, my 22-year-old. They're just already who they are. But maybe, you know, I tell her all the time, you are the only thing that's going to be able to change this. You know, with global warming, with the way things are going, we left you a nightmare. You know, the housing market, everything. You know, we left you a nightmare, and you just got to do something that fixes it. You've got to, you know, I don't want to put pressure on you, but you've got to fix it because we've fucked it up.
I have that gentleman I was talking about, shout out Howard, your ass is coming here soon from the casino. And Zia Sky has a cameraman that's going to be on the show, old Joe. We're getting your ass too. And he's 50 years in the television business. 50 years.
Wow.
I got bricks and mortar and shipping and receiving over here. I'm going to set up this thing called the Council of Elders. And I'm going to have a show like once a quarter, maybe twice a year. But here's the trick, that the flip on it is, we're going to talk about, they're going to get the list of the things we're going to discuss, and they'll have a month to 3 months, however we figure it out, to prepare. But it's modern day millennials, social media, you know, and we're going to bring some of the greatest minds that I know.
That sounds like fun.
Isn't that going to be something?
Yeah.
So the thing about it is like you were saying, I believe we have to get back to simplifying things. I believe that we buy something cheap, we pay it off, we do things that will bring money into the house, whether it's rentals, a small business, something. And here's the other part: work 100 hours a week if you have to. I tell you something else. Listen, shout out to Jamaicans, because I've half a dozen of them. These fucking people have 5 jobs, and it's so funny because and I'm talking. The one dude I know is a young man, and then there's another guy who's like in his 30s, and then there's another guy who's in his 60s. All of them, they work in the middle of the night at a hotel or a motel. They do handyman. The men do the handyman work, and the ladies do the cleaning. Shout out to Latinos, they do that shit too. But Jamaican motherfuckers, god damn, they work a lot. And they're so under the fucking radar because they're not loud, boisterous people. They're usually pretty quiet if they're not around their people.
Yeah.
And they're respectful. They have that beautiful beautiful cadence in their voice, but these motherfuckers work. So the thing is people have got to understand you can get ahead in life if you're willing to,
Work hard.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Donald Trump, all these big guys have always said, we all have the same 24 hours. We all have the same 24 hours. So how can we be creative? Am I wealthy that I retired at 42 years old? Fuck no. But I just have just enough to where I could be at zero, so that all I have to do is make enough money, what my dad called peanut butter jelly money. I don't need bills money. I just need to eat money.
Yeah.
Gas money. Fuck around money. You know what I mean? So it's not that I'm this amazing, brilliant, like I did all this great shit in the stock market. I'm just saying that I can live on very little and have a very comfortable life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not deal with the stress and the pressures of corporate America. P0902800. That was my number for 12 years. And the thing about corporate America today is that when I used to call Lakeland, I'm not talking about, I don't really get into what business I worked at, but they had a heartbeat in Lakeland. And if you called Lakeland, it used to be, what was your name? Then what was your number? But then and now, before I left, you're not even allowed to say your name. Number, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a fucking blip on a screen. And I used to say that in the business that I used to be in, the customer would come in and we would grab them gingerly in our hands and we would pass them gently to each other from one department to the next. That's how you milked them for the most fucking money you could get out of them and pay your bills. But what we ended up doing now is you walk in and you just lay on an assembly line, and it's all mechanic, it's all clean, it's all sterile, and there's no common sense anymore. There's no fucking gut instinct. Fuck all that shit. No more gut instincts. So when somebody gets this gut instinct, sometimes it has to be when you're at that crossroads, when you're at the worst possible place you can be, and then you start realizing what's important.
Well, me, I never made it past 9th grade. I basically quit in the middle of my 9th year. They said either quit or we're going to expel you, but I didn't want the expulsion on my record, so I quit. And then I got my GED again when I was 21.
Right.
And I went to Job Corps. That was a time in itself. And from there, I didn't do shit. I didn't do anything until I met my girl, and we pretty much stayed together that whole time, had kids, had all kinds of things. And just 2 years ago, I decided to go back to college. And just this August, I graduated.
What?
For the first time ever.
What'd you graduate with?
Associates.
In what?
Well, 3.0.
No, what is the fucking title? What, associates
no, information technology.
Very
management.
cool, yeah.
It was, I've been a cook my whole life.
Yeah.
I was, until just 3 months ago, I was designated a cook pretty much. I mean, that's the only shit I knew. I didn't know nothing about computers. What? Even when I went in there, I barely knew how they worked. I knew how to get on them and do what I had to do, but I didn't know how they worked. I didn't know none of that. And the things I know now are crazy. But that is another thing that is bothering me, is the corporate market. And it's, you're still in an office every day. You're still doing that. And while I want to keep that ball rolling, I don't think I can be in an office all day.
Well, no, but
that's why I chose this. Is
what you know, what you learn.
Yeah.
Somehow you have to work it into what you.
That's exactly it, and that's what I'm going to do. There's a technology now where you can make a bunch of drones talk to each other.
That's just what we need, is a bunch of fucking drones talking to each other. That's great.
But the biggest one is they have these autonomous things that catch the rockets for SpaceX. Those things talk to each other, so they can coordinate.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm at that weird age where I'm still kind of sketchy about it, and it's so funny too because I remember years ago I heard about when they were going to do this thing with Amazon that they're going to deliver with drones.
They're doing it.
I know they are. I can't wait to hear the reports coming in when they're rolling through like fucking Payne's Prairie or some shit, and somebody shoots them down. Yeah. And then what else is going to happen? Like if somebody shoots it down and jacks the package.
Well, they fly at a certain altitude. I think they fly. You would have to get it on its downward flight, because it's not like they're going to fly at treetop level, because that's just going to make them, skeet shooting all day long.
No doubt. That's what I'm wondering.
So they're going to probably fly at around 7 to probably 1,000 feet, and I don't think there's many shotguns that can do much damage after that.
Definitely won't be, no.
No, but it's still, good. They still got some good scopes down here in in Florida. So I imagine
But the idea, you know, when you think of what is it, fucking Star Wars and Star Trek, when you see all this shit floating around in the sky, and you know, and
I mean, it's funny. In 10 to 15 years, we're going to look back at this and look at it like the Nintendo system. You remember the first Nintendo?
Yeah, the NES.
You know, we look at it now.
That's the only one I play.
Yeah, and we look at that now with the technology and the computers we have now and the games, and you look at it and you go, that is so 2D. So, and that's why I think in 15 years, maybe 20, not even 20 years, these are going to be. I mean, they've already got one that follows you around, like you can mountain climb, and it will just, you wear like this wristwatch, and it will stay near you and fly around you and take pictures of you as you do crazy stuff.
Creeping me out. He's creeping me out.
God, the technology is getting amazing. It's
amazing. I mean, I can just picture them downloading personalities, and even more introverted kids become even more introverted because they have their favorite robot.
I think one of the best things for these is to have like a thing on top of your house. You could do like a neighborhood watch. You get it like a thing where it goes out every once in a while and just does like a perimeter of your neighborhood and goes down certain streets, and you know, you could sit at your desk all day and just, you know, or whatever you need to do.
I don't want people looking at my fucking house.
That's the only part about it. But I mean, you know, people, it's with neighborhood watch, you can keep it at a certain level to where you just do
people have a right to say anything. Aren't you in free zone when you're at a certain point?
Well, you can't fly over people or property if you can avoid it. Yeah, and you cannot be above 400 feet. I have to get special permission to go above 400 feet. I have to get a waiver. So anything above that, or
gangbangers will shoot your fucking. If you're on the one side of your neighborhood where the one guy doesn't want you to see it, they're gonna shoot you down. But
that 400 feet is different because it's not 400 feet from sea level. It's 400 feet from what you're standing on. So if I'm on a 50-story building, it's 400 feet above that, and that's why you have to know airspace.
Oh, that's a sketchy little loophole.
Yeah, because that's why you have to know airspace, because you may as well be saying, okay, I'm not above 400 feet. There's no planes that fly there. But when you get on a 50-story building, you're almost 1,000 feet.
Somebody will shoot a missile at you.
Yeah, somebody could. Or I saw a video the other day where a passenger plane, a big old regular passenger plane, got the very tip of it broken off because it hit a drone.
Now, I'm gonna be real with you. I believe what's gonna end up happening is what it is we grouchy old fuckers that remember Big Brother are gonna die. I mean, that's all there is to it. My daughters are raised with zero interest of the fact that somebody's watching them. They don't give two shits because they're like, well, if you don't have anything to hide, I'm like, yeah, whatever, go fuck yourself, because sometimes I have things that I need to hide, you know. But anyways, the whole thing about it is it is what it is. The future is going to be here. It's already here, whether we like it or not.
And this isn't even the beginning.
And what I'm trying to do, because I jokingly talk about in one of my stand-up bits, is I'm the last of the I'm Generation X. We're the compromising old school, meaning we are the ones that are the generation after my parents. My parents don't need to give a fuck if Messenger is important for Facebook and all that shit. They don't care.
Yeah.
Their life is where it needs to be, and they're done till they die. Now, for those of us who still have 20 years that we can make money, the idea of us not learning it is foolish. And I see top-notch comics and people that are of a certain age that are absolutely missing the boat, and losing every kind of opportunity because they don't get on board with it.
I've tried to get my daughter, my youngest, I get her interested in computers. I'm more interested in her. She was into coding for a little while. I don't know if she's still doing it, but for a while there, I think that's the most important aspect now, is you have to let your kids be more computer savvy, because
no doubt,
you know, everything, pretty much the Internet of Things, and it's one of the biggest things, is the Internet of Things is everything that's connected to the Internet that we don't realize is connected. We have refrigerators now that are connected to the Internet, that you can be at your house or at your grocery store and look, and it'll tell you what you're missing. You know, I mean, everything is connected to the internet.
Fucking creepy.
Yeah, everything. You know, your lights, you can do everything to your home. You can get home so interconnected that you can run everything in probably the toaster.
My uncle has a rental. No, it's not a rental. He has a summer spot that when he comes in from out of town, he drops in on it. And he's got a setup where if something happens, it's notified, and then the fucking camera on the computer will follow, and there's different cameras that will look.
Yeah.
And somebody broke in his house, and they fucking forward that information to the police department.
You can buy one off Wish, what we were talking about earlier, with the little thing that you can control by your phone, right. And you can just turn it on every once in a while and look around your house, make sure nothing's going on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like $30.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, I mean,
it's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, surveillance is everybody's always worried about Big Brother, but they always have had the power to watch you. They've always been able to do what they want. So
the thing is now the blinders are being removed.
Yeah.
Technology's making it to where now we're starting to talk about conspiracies, and we're talking about there are legitimate conspiracies out there. There is people in power that decide the fate in closed rooms. But that being said, the thing about it is young people have, and I think the newest generation, I believe change will come. And like I said, the pendulum swing right now, the knee jerk is that we're not going to do common sense. We're going to do strictly by the book, black and white. And then what I think is going to happen is in the next 10 or 20 years, it's going to middle out again. Because we went from making all the choices to now we make no choices. The computer makes the choices. And I think as time progresses, your thought, please.
No, I was just going to say, conspiracy theory. There are conspiracy theories that are true, but that does not make all conspiracy theories true. And that's the biggest thing I find that I battle a lot on the internet is that, yes, there's been some sketchy shit in the past that have turned out to be, people who said, and people call them conspiracy theorists. But now we get it to where everything is conspiracy.
Right, yeah. That's the knee jerk. That's the point. That's the pendulum swing.
And that's where it's getting too old. I mean, the Las Vegas shooting, not within 24 hours were people on the internet sitting there going, oh, well, the government got this. There was 5, 6, 7 shooters in the crowd. And, I mean, just crazy shit that people will just, I don't know what to do about it. That's the thing, is the internet was one of those things that brought about the age of enlightenment in a way. Mm-hmm. Where we could learn about everything all over the world
right now.
But there's still a bunch of ignorant idiots who believe the dumbest shit possible.
Well, here's the thing. One of the reasons why I believe there's so much outrage, there's so much controversy, and there's so much conspiracy, and there's so much this, there's so much that, is because by the grace of God, we are spoiled fucking rotten. If we were in Afghanistan and we went a day without somebody blowing up somebody, or if somebody that was like, if there wasn't this horrible whatever the tragedies that happen all over the world daily, if we had even a touch of that, we wouldn't have time to worry about whether or not this lizard is protected that they're building this entrance to. But here's the other part about it, and if you want to wrap your head around a fucked up conspiracy, my conspiracy theory is all of this is fucking orchestrated. All of this shit that they pile out, and it's not that they're expecting the people to pop off and say this conspiracy within 24 hours. It's they're feeding the masses to get that mindset to distract from what they're really doing. You don't
believe that there's just that crazy of people?
Absolutely, but I believe that all this stuff about Trump, all the negative, and I'm telling you, I'm not thrilled with all the stuff he's up to, but at the same time, I believe that all these people are in a room and they're orchestrating this. They're going, all right, in order for us to get this done, we're going to make you look like a real asshole while you work this back door.
I don't think they have to. I think that like with Trump and everything else, I think it just shows that we're a lot more ignorant than we think.
Oh, no doubt.
I mean,
no question about it. Especially the ones that are propagating this bullshit, because they are really.
But I don't think we're ignorant I don't think we're ignorant that there's a bunch of people sitting in a room. I think that this shit just happens. It's just the way we've let it happen. The things that we've done, the things that the generations before us have done, it just led to this kind of civilized life. And that's what we need to come to terms with, is that, just some crazy dude got pissed off and drunk and shot up 50 people.
That's absolutely
and that's all it is. And the reason he could do it is because he had unlimited access to military style weapons, whether it had bump stocks, whether it had whatever. It's just, he had too many guns.
Right.
He has I think it's in Australia, you're allowed like 5 bullets and they're supposed to be kept somewhere else. It's or something like that. I don't know if that's completely it.
But what you mean is, and what you're right about is, but then again, that's a touchy subject. Not for me. No, I know. Not for me. I don't think people should have. Listen, one time I'm in a fucking table full of pastors, and I'm not hating on them. but they all carry guns. Because you know why? Because NRA is a Christian thing.
Yes.
So the thing is that since they can't wild out and do cocaine off whores' asses, they have a stockpile of weapons in their house.
And my father's one of those people that has a stockpile.
And the thing about it is I'm one of the most gangsters people ever sitting at a table full of pastors ever in the history of people sitting next to fucking people ever. And I've never owned a firearm. That's the whole joke.
I've never owned one either.
You never want to fucking break into a pastor's house. They will fuck you up. So, I mean, that's the whole thing about it. That's the irony of it is, you know what I mean? So you can't go to a bunch of fucking Americans and say, we want to take your guns. It ain't going to happen. And one of the three things that makes the United States as protected as they are is, one, they're in the middle of fucking nowhere compared to everywhere else, so we see you coming. Two, we've got a fucking big ass fucking military. And three, we got a lot of fucking guns in our house.
Well, yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I think the funniest argument for guns is that we need to protect ourselves from the government. Well, you do know that Iraq had the 5th largest army, and we walked over them in like 30 days.
Yeah, no doubt.
What are you and your M16 going to do? That's what I mean to them. What are you and your M16? You have rocket launchers because they have drones.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't get that argument. That is not a good enough argument to me to say that's why I need to keep my guns, because they're going to run over you. If they want your shit, they're going to take it.
Well, yeah, but they glom on to the history. The history is also a sketchy thing that makes the future
They had one
difficult.
bullet back then.
Yeah, but at the same time, the militia, that's where they get on it.
Militia to me means army.
They ride that dick, because I've met, dude, I'm from here.
Me too.
I have met some militia motherfuckers. And they are dangerous in their own right, but they also, I have one in my circle as barbarians. If I'm walking out and somebody roughs me up, not that I can't handle myself, but boy, I sure wouldn't mind having that crazy motherfucker with me when that time comes, because he will rip their fucking throats out with their teeth.
Yeah.
He's a savage. And he's a wound tight. And we pray that. I just pray it doesn't pop on me. But right now it's love, love, love. And that's what, but the thing about it is there's so many layers. I just think
we need more control.
I was raised with and this is I talk about it all the time. I was raised under the mindset of the band Alabama, Song of the South, where it said, most folks said that Wall Street fell, but we were so broke that we couldn't tell. The only thing, and I'll be God honest truth about it, the only thing that I've ever been interested in is legalizing medical marijuana. Otherwise, I have never felt like I always use this because of the millennials I watch. I always say that in Star Wars, the fucking big drama that was happening between the rebels and the fucking whatever had nothing to do with the guy that goes to work every day and clocks in. And in fact, a lot of times, that stress during that person's lifetime is going to be a huge inconvenience once it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So the thing is, and my big political joke is fuck Bush. How fucking old is that joke? But yet, how much fucking meaning does it have?
Oh, yeah.
So that's as good as it gets for me in politics.
Even though, in my opinion, I think Trump's going to surpass him in stupidity. The things
you mean Trump?
Yeah.
No doubt.
I think he's surpassing him in the things.
But you see, the thing about it is again, knee jerk, no common sense. Now, this next time, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be like, we need to think about this more. I believe young people are going to get involved in politics, and I believe the new system overall may work. And then I also say, you take that camera now and you zoom it out one layer, and you have giant military mites that are way stronger than us person to person that have interest in taking us over. Pull the camera back one more time, and you have asteroids that fly by our fucking planet so close they punctures the assholes of everybody who knows about it. Yes. And then if you even want to go even different, you go back one layer deep, go back in one layer, and the caps are melting. And inside those caps, supposedly, is what I hear from the podcasting that's coming out west, is that the fucking dead giant woolly mammoth corpses that are frozen in that whatever strata, once it's released, a noxious gas is going to come out of that that's so powerful, it's going to literally destroy the world. And when you ask 100 scientists that are involved in it, they say it will happen. There's no fucking, but nobody talks about that. Instead, we're worried about who's kneeling.
Oh, yeah.
And whether or not the fucking...
Well, secularism is I think, the largest growing thing that is coming into being. This generation of children that are growing up aren't being... with the internet, they can see more all over the world. They're growing up with visions of everything and all the different religions and all the different things, and they're realizing that, well, 4,000 religions today, how can one of them be right? You know, it's more logical that all of them are wrong than one of them being right. I mean, it's and I think kids are growing up that way nowadays. I think they're growing up being able to see more things. Because like when we grew up, we had I tell kids I'm older than the internet, and it blows their mind.
Right.
You know, and we didn't have that. We just had what our parents told us and what our parents taught us and what we grew up on, and that's just been how it is through the ages. Well, now they're not getting taught so much by their parents. They're getting taught by the internet.
No doubt.
And with the internet, you can find out anything you want with just the click of a button. I mean, and it's good and bad.
Bro, but again, here's another controversy that's real, is how many mistakes that were not accidents that were in the encyclopedia. The whole deal is now they have access to all the information, good and bad.
Yeah.
So now the question is can you sift through? Because that's the funniest thing. You can go on a wormhole about flat Earth, and at the end, you start thinking that maybe it's true. By the way, if you're a flat earther, go fuck yourself, okay? That's the stupidest goddamn controversy I've ever heard. There's way more important shit to fucking worry about than goddamn flat earth, okay? Dumbasses. So anyhow,
I figured that always blew the argument when you can look at the moon.
You know what? Go fuck yourself, okay? God damn it. So, and look, Eddie Bravo, I love your ass. I love you.
That's the dumbest shit. Yeah.
So anyhow, this is a great transition, and this will be that middle point, and we're going to change because you just started it, and that's a great segue. So here's the deal. When I was a kid, grew up in a small southern community, and I was raised in a good Christian home, and then I became an even stronger Christian, and I had a 10-year hardcore Bible thumping chapters in my life, good 10 years where I was really deep. And not only was I really deep, but and I have loyalty issues. And what I mean by that is if somebody moves me to where I glom onto you, I'll glom onto you for fucking life. And I'll go deep into the ether with you. So I got saved in a small independent fundamental Baptist church. Those are like the Duggars. Okay, that's the little house on the prairie.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So it was cool because I could dress flashy, but whoever I was with had to dress in a fucking big ass dress and shit.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is in my opinion, I had a list that I was raised with, things that I needed to be afraid of. And I will be the first one to say, I don't believe at any moment in time that a person who taught me this list had any ill intentions in their mind at that time. They were coming from a pure place because they didn't know better. Okay? But on this list, I had a list of things I was afraid of. Black people, drugs, Hindus or Muslims or anything other than Christians, atheists, and one of the neat things about meeting people that I want to come on the interview, the first and most important thing is I have to be interested in something that sparks me to come ask you. And every fucking time, halfway through the conversation, they go, yeah, not only am I specializing in this, but I'm also this. And Howard, the guy from Bonkers Comedy in Ocala, who runs that horse track, he's going to be here on the show. Been in the business 40 years. I'm super interested in talking to a guy who runs a casino. And he sits there and says, oh, by the way, I'm also one of the foremost experts in Sherlock Holmes. I've written books. Some of them are in Russian. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, documentaries have been shot about me. I'm all over YouTube. I'm like, okay. So here I am, Travis McCartney, drone specialist, and in our conversation with great articulation, and he's very well spoken, he informs me that he's an atheist.
Yes.
And not only is he an atheist, but I guess he's like a kind of vocal and sought after, and people are listening to what he says. So I'm like, fuck yeah, come on the show. Let's check it out. Because I also have shout out Bilal. I don't remember your last name, but I found me a badass Muslim who's going to be coming. So we're going to be talking to him too in the very near future. So, okay, so you're an atheist. So I'm going to come into this with absolutely, because again, the only
thing you know.
The only thing I know is what I'm taught.
Yeah.
So I have learned that there have been some mistakes in how I've been taught. Not that the people teaching me were bad in the spirit, but maybe ill-informed. So I'm coming to you with a clean slate. I don't know what the fuck that is. So tell me what it is to be an atheist and what does it mean, and tell me about, you were talking about layers, and let's get into that.
Well, I grew up a Baptist. I grew up in, small town, not far from here. And my whole life I had questions, but the questions were never answered because I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any atheists. I didn't know people that, everybody I knew was Christian or believed in God or whatever. So it was always a thing that was just under this. I would just ask questions to be an asshole, just to be, ask questions like, well, if Adam and Eve only had 2 sons, how in the world did they get pregnant? I mean, how did they populate the rest of the earth when she's only having sons? I mean, I would ask little questions like that, and nobody would ever, or just simple things like that. And for years, that's the way it was. And then about 10 years ago, maybe not that long, maybe 8 years ago, I used to post funny things on Facebook, and I found this meme about Jesus that just cracked me up. But in finding this, I found these atheist pages.
Right.
And I started listening and seeing who was on them. And there was thousands. These people had 10,000 followers. And I mean, it was just incredible. And I'm like, there's more people out there. And they were all asking the same questions and doing the same things I was doing. Right. So once I did that, I started going back through the Bible. And I started to read things in there and to make sure. And then it's just started to hit me that this is all something that is man-related. There's nothing that really happens in these things that is beyond man's imagination or what he can do. There's nothing in there that you can... There's nothing in the Bible that makes you any different than what you would do in normal life. I mean, you don't need this book, per se, to be a good person. Not to kill. I mean, the 10 Commandments, like 7 of them are all about God. They're not even about anything else.
Right.
I think George Carlin did a set on that. It was best.
Shout out George Carlin, rest in peace.
But it just all started to culminate. I started to meet more people that were like me. I wasn't alone, and it wasn't just here. It was all over the world, And then you start meeting all these people from different religions and different sects and different parts of the world, and they used to be really religious, especially Hindus. Hindus, they have multiple gods. Right. They have 10 or 12 gods. And then they start to realize that because of the internet, that there was other different religions, and they were able to see too that most of it is just stuff that we keep. We were told as kids, everybody was told what they are. If you were born in Mongolia, you would probably be a Buddhist, and not a Christian. Right. And those are the things that you keep asking yourself. And after a while, you're just like, well, it just makes more sense that we're just randomly here. That, a long time ago, some monkeys evolved off to a different sect of things, and here we come, and now we're here. I mean, it's not that simple. But that's pretty much it. And they've proved it over and over again. And there's so much pointing towards those things that I think it's mainly it's the best thing is God of the gaps, I think. I think that's one of the best way to look at it is every time we figure something out, volcanoes, we know those aren't the wrath of God anymore. Earthquakes, we know what causes earthquakes. And it's God of the gaps is whenever you don't know something, whenever science doesn't know something, they slap God in there. Right. And that's the explanation. Or my favorite thing is as the universe gets bigger and as we see more of the universe, people still want to say, well, that's God too. And then God's was, like this was Earth just 2,000 years ago, and now God controls the whole universe too. I mean, it's just like you're expanding to try to fit yourself back into the science that we've already proven happens. I mean, that's the biggest thing to me is science says you I don't know the best way to say this, but you have to have more than one thing pointing to it. First, you have a hypothesis, right? Your hypothesis says, okay, the sun's coming out, and it's why is it coming out? So you come up with a bunch of reasons why the sun's coming out, and those are all hypotheses. One of those is actually right. Whenever you figure out which one of those is right, then it becomes a theory. And I think a lot of people have a problem with that word too. Is theory. Everybody goes, well, it's just a theory. Well, a theory is a tested, proven thing that happened. It's not like it was something that, just somebody threw a sticker on that said, okay, this is a theory. A bunch of people had to go through a bunch of shit to find out if that was true. And then a bunch of people tried to prove them wrong, and then that's how they came to their conclusion was when nobody can prove it wrong, boom, that's how the sun comes up. It's because, we go around it. Right. So, science is always trying to prove shit. And people are always trying to prove science wrong. That's the greatest part about it. That's why, to me, when people say 99% of scientists believe in climate change, well, when people are listening to the 1%, I mean, 99%, that's pretty much saying, we're fucked.
Right.
If we don't do something, we're fucked.
Right,
and people will go around and say, but it's just a theory. No, it's gravity's just a theory.
Right.
Jump off a cliff and tell me if it works.
Right.
There's germs. It's germ theory, the theory of germs, that's not they did a whole bunch of things to make sure that worked, and once that worked and they had everybody agreeing on it, then it became a theory. And then after a theory, it'll become a law, like law of nines and all that kind of stuff. So to me, it's so much easier to listen to those guys than somebody who's listening to a book that's 2,000 years old.
Right.
And like with you said you don't believe in the book per se, or the religion. You just believe in the faith.
Well, it's like this. All right. So this is what I feel like. First of all, are you familiar with Giuseppe Temple?
No.
Okay. So Giuseppe Temple is fucking up Christianity all kinds of major ways.
Kind of like the church that's everywhere. I can't. Go ahead.
Well, Giuseppe Temple is somebody way back when built a temple that he died in, and then buried it under a mountain.
Okay.
And they found it, and they're excavating it currently. I don't know where the fuck it is. I don't know all the facts. I just listen. So Giuseppe Temple, based on their imagery that they're doing, piercing the planet or piercing the mountain and seeing what it's an ornate columns, and on the columns it shows people sitting in mechanized things, all pointing up, looking up. Something to the effect of where maybe the guy the person who is promoting this agenda believes that, kind of like Transformers, aliens came, did something, and then left. Okay, so here's the deal. The fact of the matter is all over the world, it's either that man has a glitch in their head about vanity, that they can't believe that this is all there is, or it's astonishing to me that all over the world somebody believes in a higher power. All over the world there's a higher power belief system in a lot of different.
Well, the Christians are 2.2 billion, the Hindus are 1.2 billion, Muslims 1.8 billion. That's how many people believe in that.
Right.
But like I try to point out to people is, okay, if you're Christian, right? 2.2 billion people believe what you. My mom used to say to me all the time, well, 1 million people can't be wrong. And I for a long time used to believe that. And then I thought about it one day. I said, well, Nazi Germany had 20 million people, I think, and so 1 million people can be wrong.
Right, but my take on it is the fact that since God created the heavens and the universe, whoever, whatever, however, it seems like since the dawn of time in the caves they show worship to something above them.
Yeah.
There seems to be something in people that want to believe in a higher power. So
we want a natural explanation of the world.
So what my issue with the church is, the universal church based on Bible's teachings is, again, pull the camera all the way back, and there's this one thing that is God, whether it's Allah, whether it's Jehovah, whether it's Jesus Christ, the triune, all that. I believe that Muslim, and here I am getting all controversial, but I believe, here's the thing, if, capital I, capital F, if something else happens after you die, I believe a Muslim will get the credit as much as a Christian will, because the big picture was God, first and foremost. Second, I say is, capital I, capital F, if I'm wrong and the Muslims were right, I guess I have some vindication after I die. If I was right and they were wrong, maybe they have some vindication after they die. That's not for me to understand. Hold on, wait. So the whole thing is, the capital I, capital F, if atheists are right, and this is not an argument, I'm just basically telling you what, my whole thing is, if atheists are right, then all we did was try to live by a code, and it was good for nothing. And when we died, we just become worm dirt, and that's it. But capital I, capital F, if even I might be on a small percentage right, then at the very least there might be something more for me afterwards. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I think it's more about living now. I agree. I posted something yesterday. It was said, you have 2 dates and a dash, make the most of the dash. And I think that's what it is. I think, like, in my opinion, most people believe in an afterlife because they want to live forever. Now, I mean, if you go by the Judeo-Christian way, you're going to pretty much be in North Korea, because you're going to be up there worshiping him day and night. That's the kind of God that the Christian people portray as something that you have to pray to all the time. Right. If you read that Bible, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be heaven where you get to go frolic with your...
No, it was actually a hard life.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be pretty much... it's North Korea. I mean, it's just like having to worship the dear leader every day. But, I lost my train of thought.
It happens.
What were we saying here?
My thing is this. When I say I had a problem with the church, my problem with the church is old school church guys didn't transition well in the 80s to the 90s, and they were the core of religion in the Christian religion, and they taught us from different directions, different denominations, kind of like sports teams. Well, hold on.
Okay, sorry.
So the thing about it is what ended up happening was, it's the shit that makes us look bad that I got a problem with. Like, we stood against Harry Potter. Okay? We stood against stem cell research. We stood against gays and homosexuals. We stood against open-mindedness. We stood against... Here's the thing. If what I believe is true and if I die, I go to heaven, that's my business, fine. It's not my business to judge you if you choose not to. Yes. And that's the part about the church, because here's the other part of the coin. And again, this is now me saying this is what my problem is with God, with the church, is my daughter... I asked her I want to live vicariously through my kids with their college experience. I want them to experience college. So I said, go become a sorority sister and I'll pay for it, blah, blah, blah. My oldest daughter, all the options she could choose from, she chose the Baptist Collegiate Fellowship. And it wasn't even a sorority. It's kind of a club, and it's a lot less expensive. Thanks for the big picture. Thanks for that out of my pocket. But here's the catch. Every single year, it seemed like, because my daughter would be like, it wasn't every year, but every single year, it seemed like somebody in their little group had some sort of a weird meltdown and was Baker acted because they were not ready from the transition from out of their comfortable Christian home into the real world. And that is the part that I say, phooey on the church. We weren't ready. They weren't ready. They didn't prepare. How dare I say you have to have a chaperone to date, and then you have to be a certain thing. You can't dress a certain way. You can't do this. And then 18, you're off to college, and you go to a secular university.
Oh, yeah.
And now the kids don't have any fucking parents with their thumb on their neck, and now all of a sudden these kids are wilding the fuck out.
Well, if you don't teach them reality, how are they going to know about reality?
Exactly.
And the thing about that is if you're teaching your kids about the Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny and all those other Tooth Fairy, and then one day each of those disappear. First, right. I think it's the Tooth Fairy, and then the Easter Bunny kind of goes, and then they realize there's no Santa, but Jesus is still real.
Right.
I mean, how can you do that? You can't prove any of those things. I mean, people go, well, Santa Claus could be real. You can't prove that either. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't have to. There's not a cup sitting on the table. I don't have to do anything to know there's not a cup sitting on the table because it's not there.
Right.
And to me, it's like with God, you're just pulling them out of nowhere. You want so badly to be able to have an afterlife. That's where I was getting. Mm-hmm. So badly to have an afterlife. But the afterlife is the memories you leave on this earth. Why do we remember George Washington?
Right.
Why do we remember people like Cleopatra? Anything on? We remember them because they did something that made their memory last forever.
Right.
That is their afterlife. That is where, with the things you do with your kids, when you get dead and gone and your kids are sitting around a campfire talking about the things you did with dad, that's afterlife.
That's right.
Because that to me is what matters, because death and the Christian and not the Christian, but the church and all that, I think they glorify death and try to sell you something that you can't get until you die. And then, as an atheist, you believe that nothing is going, it's like a computer monitor. When you die, it's just click, you're out, so, and they sell you the idea without ever being there. I mean, you ask a priest, have you ever died? He's probably going to tell you no.
Right.
So how the fuck does he know?
Right.
How's he going to sit up there and judge me and tell me what I can do and can't do? And God don't eat pork, and can't eat shellfish,
which is bullshit, by the way. I can't even prove that in the Bible.
I mean, in the Bible, it also says you can't have tattoos. I love the guys that get Bible verses tattooed on them, because it's like 2 verses away. If you would just keep reading, you would see that it says you can't have tattoos either.
Well, there's some controversy in that, because in the Old Testament there was controversy that you weren't supposed to put a dead relative's name, but in the New Testament Jesus Christ has a tattoo on his leg. in Revelations, he says, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, tattooed on his leg.
See, and that's the thing. And that's what it was, is once the Old Testament was the first trial run, and it just, after a while, people started becoming smarter. You started getting the ages of enlightenment with Galileo and things like that. And once that started happening, they had to come up with a revised version.
Right, no doubt.
And the revised version had to be, because the first one, like the story of Lot. A lot of people don't know this, and I tend to blow people's mind when I tell them the story of Lot, because they only seem to know one part of it, and that is that Sodom and Gomorrah, got destroyed by fireballs, and as they were leaving, Lot's wife turned around, turned into a pillar of salt. That's where their knowledge of the story seems to stop, and I get a kick out of that, because just a couple chapters later, Lot's daughters, Ruphium, have sex with them so that they can further their species. Now, I mean, that is just, in today's standards, barbaric, but nobody knows that. They're like, oh, that's not in there. Oh, come on, let's go. I'll have to show you.
Well, and also, too, the Bible is very open about showing the flaws of the heroes of the Bible. Every one of them had a huge Achilles heel. I mean, everyone, and a lot of times
that had to get a bunch of foreskins. I mean, some of that shit is
well, not only, but even above and beyond that, David broke all the commandments when he saw the neighbor, the general's wife, bathing on the roof, and ended up fucking her, and ended up sabotaging the guy and getting him killed on the front line. It was a horrible story, and there's a lot of that in the Bible.
Yeah, and I think that's why they had to revise it to the New Testament, is because they wanted to get rid of all the violence and all that they wanted to spread something of love. Now, see, here's my thing with religion. I get it. I get it more than anything. I understand that you want to teach love. But if all religions teach peace, why the fuck can't they achieve peace?
No doubt.
And the reason is because everybody is trying to vie to make their religion the right one. And even like you say there's a one God, that you think that all culminates. I think what you're trying to say is that you think that all the gods are just one God, and that they're just worshiping in different ways, maybe?
Right.
Well, see, that doesn't work with the Hindus, because they have like 12, 13, a bunch of gods.
Right,
and each
but
one
I
is
think the
different.
Hindus are going to be. I think the Hindus are going to be shown that was wrong, but they're still going to get it.
But then why engineer them in that way? Why engineer them to be 1.8 million Hindus? Why engineer them, or just a billion Hindus? How can you engineer them in that way and then get pissed at them for worshiping the wrong God? Because that's
the thing. That's the thing. I think when it comes down to the nits and grits, that's not going to happen. I think we are the ones that fuck it up and throw all these curveballs.
Wouldn't you think him just coming back and showing just an appearance, not on toast, but in the sky, maybe? I mean, maybe that would convince me, if just once. I mean, because you understand what he would do if that kind of thing happened. If he would just kind of put his face in the Earth's atmosphere and just kind of say, hey, listen, I know it's been a while, but listen, you're all are fucking wrong. Start over.
I understood.
I think that would change the world.
I actually went so far as to tell my pastor, which I love you, brother, Pastor Austin Tucker, shout out Grace Point Baptist Church. But the reality is I said it's almost to the point where I feel like churches should be like
taxed first.
Well, no. I'm not even talking about that. I'm not talking about all that. I'm just saying, like, literally, it should be like oh God, what is it called? In England, men go to a thing to learn how to be gentlemen, and women go to a place in bricks and mortar. What is that called? Finishing school. Like, yes. I believe the church should be a place that can teach. This is a standard of virtues and morals that we find that if you will, if you don't react in a rough way to somebody when they come at you as an antagonist, a soft answer turneth away wrath. And don't forgive, and teach like the basics.
I think they tried that with the Crusades.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It doesn't have to be we'll do this or die.
Yeah.
But the church should be like where fellow believers can raise their kids, and it shouldn't be. But the problem with church is it's based on the personality and the whims of the leader. And like, you can go, listen, I've been in the church a long time. There are churches where the pastor believes you can't wear facial hair because when he grew up, and this is a great man of God, I'm not hating on him, but he said men who wore facial hair were outlaws in the West because in the cowboy movies the bad guys wore beards, so that's why he doesn't allow anybody to wear beards in the fucking church.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
That doesn't make any sense, considering if you're Catholic, you're not supposed to shave your beard anyway.
Right.
Yeah, well,
and not to mention Charles Spurgeon wore that badass, Legolas.
Have you ever met the what are the
Leonidas? Sorry,
I'm trying to think of the name of the Jews. There's a sect of Jews that live like in New Jersey and New York. Hasidic. The Hasidic Jews. They have the big bearskin caps and the long beards. And in the summertime, they on Saturdays they're not allowed to have any electricity or anything that has to do with power. They can't watch TV. They can't do nothing. They can't drive their car. So here they are in the middle of summer on Saturday walking to wherever they got to go in these big black overcoats and these big like furry black, and I'm thinking to myself, my God, you're dedicated. Right. I mean, my God, how can you even do all that just to I mean, it's
that's that whole thing where and again it just adds to your argument is where you need to suffer in order to worship.
See, I don't think anything should be suffering. It's like I try to tell people all the time, if I'm wrong, let's just say there's a chance, because there's always a chance. If you truly believe in science, you always never say 100%. It's 99.99%, but it's not 100. So let's say there is a chance. I ran a charity. I've just delivered, I just stopped the charity not too long ago where we did backpacks for the homeless. We filled them with all kinds of stuff. I got over $2,000 in donations,
right?
And we gave every backpack. We did it all over the country. So they went to a bunch of them went to all parts of the country, and we gave them all out. And I've done a lot of good things. I've done some pretty shady things in my life, but I'm a good person now. I try my best to do what is in the now. I don't really try to live in the past because I'm not going that way anymore. Right. So to me, it's like whenever you.
That Turkish blend. We're big fans of the Turkish blend. I
think that if I'm wrong and there is a God, then he'll know, and he won't be the picky little shit that everybody pertains him to be, or says that he is. And if that's true, then I think I'll be all right.
Do you listen to Bill Burr?
Yes. My favorite is, though, Jim Jeffries. Hands down.
That's so funny.
On earth right now.
Let me tell you something. Okay, that'll be another conversation here in a minute as far as comedians and the stuff.
But yes, I do like Bill Burr.
But Bill Burr, the one he did where it was black and white.
Yes.
Where he was talking about how he got out of religion, and it was like that slide, and he's like, and I'm in the...
Yeah.
And that fucking moved me. And that's the thing about the art of spoken word and conversation and comedy, that you can enlighten somebody or change somebody's whole outlook. And again, I don't know what's right and what's wrong. All I'm doing is going forward for the rest of my life with an open mind and looking at that list and saying, before I judge that, now, do I have a problem with radical anything? Yes. I have a problem with radical Muslims. I have a problem with radical Christians. I have a problem with radical dudes who may not share any religion but shoot people in Vegas. And the thing is I believe mental health. And I believe working to try to figure out how to make this stuff. Will it ever happen again? Probably. Is it really that crazy what happened in Vegas? It's a horrible tragedy, but comparatively, it's not anything that hasn't happened in the past.
No, the minute we decided that killing children with Sandy Hook, the minute we decided that was okay,
right,
that was the end of the argument. Right there was the end of the argument. The minute we let that happen, the minute after, if nobody got rid of guns after little children were gunned down,
right,
shot multiple times, the minute that we didn't do anything after that, the argument was over. And there was nothing we could do after that.
And we dwell, and I'm not hating, but the thing about it is if people knew, the people that were so outraged about all this dumb shit that they're outraged about, if they would peel back. What was that? Was that you? Oh, okay, cool. I want to make sure it's something. Yeah, it's definitely. If it peels back,
I actually just hit thing on too, so she heard a few.
They got to see the real truth. And again, that's that controversy that I'm telling you, that I think that they do that on purpose, because those drone strikes that Obama did, where they killed a lot of people that they weren't supposed to kill, it has to happen in order to learn to get to the next point. But that's the ugly truth of life and the world. And here's the other thing. Again, a lot of this stuff is just churned up things that I think about when I think about what's coming out of the West with the podcasting. if you take any person who has this great cause, this great agenda, this great thing that they're outraged about, and put them a mile in to the Yellowstone National Forest and let them go, it would not mean a lick of shit. You will die out there and nobody will care. And if you're lucky, you die fast. If you're not lucky, they will eat you asshole first while you're alive.
I don't think my kids would make it. I say that all the time.
Fuck, I wouldn't make it, dude.
I don't think my kids would make it.
I don't know how to make it. I don't make a goddamn fire. I don't know how to, I will. I'll YouTube it before I get to that point, I promise. But the thing about it is...
You won't have electronics.
You know, yeah, exactly. But, you know, I know dudes that can be, you know, that for fun drop in and get out. That's their fun.
Yeah.
I personally know these dudes. And that dude that I'm talking about is in his 60s and has one leg.
That's crazy, yeah.
And he's an animal. But, you know, the thing about it is I think if people would just take a step back, get out of their video game for a minute, get out of their headspace for a minute, get out of the... Look, if you are... And here's the other thing. I really believe if you are spending any amount of time pushing out there what your thought is about the government, you are wasting your fucking time. Now, will it change for the future as far as will we be a little bit more thoughtful when we pick a candidate? Yes. But I'm also on that whole verge where it's like, why does it have to be a popularity contest between two people?
Well, that's like, you know, I say all the time that, what do you think is going to happen if, let's say, one day we find out 9/11 was the inside job and that the whole thing was, you know, a setup and all of it was... Do you really think anybody's going to give a shit?
Right, what changes?
We already know the government's shady. I mean, we're not stupid, I don't think. I think a lot of that tries to take, because a lot of them put on, well, your guys are sheeple and you don't know and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just saying that everybody's stupid and only you know the truth.
Right.
You know, I mean, only you can see it because you and your internet research have just done all you can. You know, I mean, I'm sure Google was good to you, but,
right.
You know, I mean, it makes no sense. What is the point of keeping on with it? I mean, it's like people thrive off it, I think. Right. It's people want that knee-jerk reaction, like you were saying earlier, you know, and they have anything to glit it, you know. And to me, it's like with me, my whole thing is the reason I do it, the reason I'm so outspoken about it is because for many years, people like me were burned at the stake. We were tortured. We were done nasty things to if we spoke out against the church. And I think now I'm like, I burn me now, motherfucker. Well, try it. I mean, that's my whole attitude toward this. Is I would love to see you try that shit now.
Over the weekend, it was Gay Pride. Over this last weekend. And as an Uber Lyft driver, you know, I'm picking up anybody and everybody. And again, clear head, open mind. I'm thankful. And I actually got some phone numbers. Hilarious. I got some phone numbers from some really intelligent gay dudes that are going to hopefully come out and come on the show. And it's so funny because he's like, all right, man, thanks for taking my number. Call me. We'll hook up for the podcast. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, I know. I already told you that. Look, and again, it's one of those things. If no matter how fucked up you get, you can't fuck me in the ass, all right? I know I'm not that fucked up, and that's the thing that makes me laugh. So I'm comfortable around gay dudes. I don't partake, but I embrace. So I mean, it's cool. But the whole deal about it is honestly, those fucking dipshits that were doing that thing for racism a few weeks back with their little goddamn citronella torches, you fucking dicks.
No, that was hilarious.
That was your fucking problem.
Did you see the sign they had to put up saying, if you're going to use these for your racist shit, don't buy them here?
Listen, man, look, really, y'all could have gotten a little more creative than that. The point is, the people who did that had as much right as the fucking guys who just did gay pride. It was Voltaire that said, I may not agree with what you say, but I will fight to death the right for you to say it. So the reality of it is there was never a time until now that I've ever seen where all of a sudden people picketing is, look, the KKK does a march through Bithlow every fucking year. And guess what? 10 dudes in their little silly outfits drive down the street.
I saw one the other day.
White power, and that's it. It's done. Black dudes are just waving at them, dumb motherfuckers.
I saw one the other day that was he had a Nazi flag and a damn American flag running out the back of his truck, and I'm thinking, you know, we fought a fucking war over that, right? I mean, we actually fought a war. I know it's your right, but you don't go in Germany and see Nazi flags. It's against the law in that country.
But they don't have that freedom.
Well, they have. That's the thing. We have freedom, but we're not the only country. There's 126 countries that have democracy or have a constitution in written. So I mean, to me, it's not about freedom anymore. freedom. Every place has freedom. There's very few countries now that don't have freedom. Most of them are not secular. Most of them are Muslim or really like the Vatican or Italy or things like that, where there's, all of their laws are driven by religious beliefs. In America, we shouldn't have to be. Everybody's always saying that that the founding fathers wrote they wrote parts of God into the Constitution, but most of them were pretty secular in their beliefs. They believe kind of like you do, that there's a higher power maybe, but they didn't follow the Bible. They didn't believe that we were founded on Christian. We got away from that. That's where we came to America, was to get away from religious persecution, and to be able to have a place where we can be who we want to be without having to listen to your nonsense. And that's what the founding fathers were trying to say. They wanted to give us a place where everybody could be, and nobody was to make any laws based on any one religion, because we're a melting pot of religions.
Not thinking that I'm the best or better parent than anybody else, but I've always raised my daughters knowing, they say, you see that is a symbol of hate, and we don't support that. And if that
Which one, the Confederate flag or the...
Actually, here's the deal. It doesn't fucking matter to me. That's the thing. If you want to put a flag on there, that just says, okay, now I know where you're
like.
at.
It's like a banner.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, cool. If I was into fucking Jethro Tull or some Southern rock band, and and I want a David Allan Coe, and I see that guy and be like, hey, country boy.
Well, it's like I grew up with the same thing. I grew up with the Southern mentality that of Jethro Tull or Leonard Skinner and all that. I grew up with that mentality. But then as I got older, I looked at that flag and I realized what it represented, and I realized that we fought a war over it. And really, to have the American flag and that flag flying out of your truck, Nazi or the Confederate, I think that we fought wars. Millions of people died so that we could have the country we have nowadays, just so you could fly that flag. And the very fact that you do just shows you don't know. I mean, like, ask anybody when they say it's all about heritage. Ask them what heritage they're talking about. Well, that's normally a conversation stopper, because normally it's all about mashed potatoes and grits and stuff.
The other thing too is I have a guy who'll be coming on the show. Again, 2 stories. He's a barber, but he's also a Confederate reenactment guy, and he's a master watch specialist, and he's the one who talked to me about the Invictus. So the thing is he's going to be coming on my show, but his whole story is, and this is his documentation, and he based it on old-fashioned study, is the Civil War wasn't about what it was about. History wrote it, and it wasn't about that. It was about something to do with taxing whatever the product was that whatever. It was about money. So again, basically,
it was about money, but it was about states' rights.
Well, hold on, time out.
It was about states' rights to keep slaves. I mean,
well, actually, though, but that's just it. The controversy is that's what might have been documented for the history books, but that might not have been what the real reason was.
Well, the Emancipation Proclamation puts that all to bed.
Right, but that was the secondary. That was like the excuse they used, but the real reason was for this thing over here, which had to do with finance, money, big business. It really wasn't about what he says, and I'm going to let him, say it.
No, I understand.
And the whole thing about it is,
I'd love to.
Oh yeah, there's a shitload of people I'm going to be having. That's why you need to get a podcast, and I can send them your way when I'm done. But the whole thing about it is the reality is whatever the reasoning is, right now today, if you want to put yourself in that, when you put that flag out, you're saying this is what I'm about. Okay, it also has to do with like-minded people doing their thing. The bottom line is just don't do that to hurt somebody else. That's where my whole argument
mainly
is.
It is, though. I think that's what it is, because nobody really has a good argument for flying that flag, except the only good argument is, I like this flag. It's a pretty flag.
But the thing about
that's the only argument that works.
But it's the same argument if you're going to fly the gay, lesbian, blah 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 flag. The same thing if it's Black Lives Matter, Black Panthers, whatever the cause.
But none of those teach hate. I don't think. Well, maybe.
Okay, so my point
that's a moot point.
My point is, and also with the gay culture, and again, my business partners are gay. There's nothing about hate here, but I find it uniquely, because if you didn't know, and I'm learning, the politics and the hierarchy and the ankle biting that happens in the gay community, and when I say gay community, I mean all the fucking acronyms, but I'm old and I don't know them all. It's ridiculous. So it's like you're almost, and again, it's the same thing. We are our own worst enemies for everything.
Yeah.
So the real reason why gay people have the right to do their gay march is because the squeaky wheel, and they made moves, and they took a hit, and they earned it. You see what I'm saying? And vice versa, based on our laws, and because freedom of speech. I might not agree with you, but you have a right to put that fucking flag, and I have a right to judge you and tell my kids don't go around that.
Well, you're able, like with the First Amendment, it gives you the right to say what you want, but you are not free of consequence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's true. That's the point. You can say whatever you want, but you have to be ready for what comes after.
And that's what comes after. If that guy gets his ass beat because he had those flags, if he stops at a gas station in a community that might not feel that flag, at the very least he'll know. Hey,
well, it's been a hard conversation for me because my 12-year-old, she's half black. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for her because she has to see those flags, and she knows all about it.
Right.
She's studied her history. She knows what she's all about. So to me, it's hard to say that yes, that should be flown, that we have the right to let that be flown. But for a lot of people, and for a lot of black people, it brings awful memories.
Absolutely.
Of things. Now I don't think that I'm responsible for what my ancestors did. I don't. I'm nothing like them. I wouldn't ever put anything. But I still believe that no matter what, we owe them quite a bit because, I don't know. It's just...
Well, no, again, conversation can be said about Asians, can be said about Jews, can be said... So the thing is...
I don't know if we... Even with the Asians, okay, we can... Because most people talk about the railroad with the Asians, and that was more... I know that was slave labor and they worked hard, but I don't think it was any scale to what we did to the African.
Actually, and it's again without any knowledge, without any study, I believe it's just one brushstroke of many that have happened, atrocity after atrocity that has happened. And yes, it's an atrocity. And yes, we need to make memory of it. And yes, but at the same time, a 19-year-old black man should not be offended by the flag. Your daughter should not be offended by the flag because that was a history thing. That happened in history, and these people are not willing to let go of their history. This is where you need to make... I'm not telling you how to...
No,
I'm saying, young lady, this is your future. Now you have a future that black people in the past have had to get their asses kicked and get killed and get lynched, and it was a horrible thing. But now that shit's in the past. Now we need to work on what's going to happen in the future.
Well, it's like me, I'll tell you this controversial thing, I think, and a lot of people, I get a lot of flack for this when I bring it up online, but I don't think now, my ex was a Jew, so please don't take this the wrong way, but I don't think that 6 million Jews dying was a big thing. 42 million Russians died in that war. 42 million, but nobody talks about that. And death is death. I'm sorry, I'm not saying that their death wasn't any more horrific or painful or what the ordeal was any less. But when you compare 6 million to 42 million Russians,
well, yeah, but
I mean that's the number that just is staggering to me. But most people want to just talk about just what happened to the Jews during the Holocaust. And I know, like I said, I'm not downplaying the event any. I'm not saying that it wasn't horrific and what happened wasn't right. But to only focus on one part of it, why does nobody care about what happened to the Russians? Why not?
Well, the thing about it is probably one of the reasons why, because in the 80s the Russians were bad guys.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And the other thing too is not only did
I love Russia any more than anything other country.
Not only did 42 million people get killed in Russia, but every sperm carrying male. Almost like it was like one, or it was like 5 out of 7 were killed, and then you fast forward to today, and I hear stories about how people can't adopt Russian children because they have this weird separation, and but here's the reality again. Remember when I said back the camera up? Russia is now another superpower of hardened, pissed off, bear wrestling, Siberia living in motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So and it was Russia's landscape that ended World War II.
Yeah.
Because they got fucked up in the winter.
Yep. The winter.
So the bottom line is and again, atrocity. And the reason why we don't talk about it is that's the reason. And then, but again, with the Jews, it was like a horrible thing. And I think, when I say the Jews, that's probably wrong. It's Jewish people. Forgive me. I don't know. I'm old. But anyhow, the thing about it is the Jewish people that were murdered, it was a weird thing that he specifically, he didn't just attack a nation and kill 42 million. It was weird how he did that. But wait. No, the thing is Egyptians have done strange things like that in the past. And again, as far as the Asians coming to America with the railroads, they would strap them at the end of ropes, throw them down in the dynamite, and they would blow up. They had to hold it. So I mean, it was atrocity after atrocity after atrocity. What happened in the Civil War? Atrocity. So the thing is we are a nation of people built on atrocity, and it wasn't that long ago that we would just go next door to a piece of land and take it. And the reality is all of history is less than 500 years old. As far as what we've documented and what we saw, right?
The American history is only 200.
Exactly.
The Egyptians were around for what, 5,000 years?
Right.
Rome was around for 2,000, 3,000,
but I mean, how long ago was it that we invented electricity? And that's really when civilization, the big industrial revolution. Then we started, started to think about other things besides how am I going to eat before I die?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the idea, based on what I hear coming out of the West, the studies, we were only meant to be in tribes of 70 to 100, and now we're 350 million in one tribe. And I believe what's going to progressively happen if we don't get conquered by those other three layers is that it'll be like Star Trek, and it'll be all warm and fuzzy, and it'll be love, and it'll be great, and it'll be cool. But in order for it to get down there, we have to do this knee-jerk thing. I have a bit where I talk about Caitlyn Jenner. Caitlyn Jenner was, in my opinion, this big joke, and I didn't get it.
In a way, it was.
However, I saw a documentary, and I talk about this all the time, and it's not because I'm sexually attracted to her, but have you ever seen Gigi Gorgeous?
No.
So Gigi Gorgeous is a documentary on YouTube Red. It talks about this young boy who was transgender, who now you couldn't tell if this guy was a guy or a girl. She is gorgeous. But the point is, Caitlyn Jenner had to step up. And you had to have people step up and take that blow, take the ridicule, take the laughter. And granted, I think Caitlyn Jenner is fucking crazy.
That's the part I think about as a joke. It's just the fact that if that's going to be your role model, I mean, come on.
But
I mean, I think there's more better ones in my opinion.
I agree, but here she comes, Gigi Gorgeous. That's the role model.
Okay.
So the thing is you had to have. No, that's the point, though. You had to have that Caitlyn Jenner knee-jerk thing in order to get that conversation even started.
I get that.
Before Gigi Gorgeous comes up, and now she's accepted and loved and beloved.
That's awesome.
Because guess what? There's a lot of fucked up kids in this world that are suffering with this shit because my church taught that it was wrong and it was a choice. It's not a fucking choice. There's not a fucking choice. It's not something where I can say to the side,
it's never been a choice.
On this day forward, I'm going to take the ridicule of being gay because it's a choice. No, there's something that's innately deep inside.
If you love men, if you love women, you can. I've always believed that you can't help who you fall in love with, and that argument to me is played out.
I was there when he said boys and their fag tags from the pulpit. I got it. Back then, he thought he was doing the right thing.
I remember when the earrings were called that.
And necklace, and I still don't wear necklaces. I still have
my nose pierced before it was even cool, like back when I was like 15, 16, yeah. You were a girl if you did it back then too.
Yeah, I don't know. I still question the nose. My daughter has her nose done, and
I had it done with a piercing gun. It made my whole eyes water. I was crying.
She got a shitload of tattoos now and stuff, and I tell her, I said, baby, just don't put it on your forehead, okay? Please, just until you make your millions. All right, so it looks like we've had ourselves a great conversation. We're gonna wrap it up with this last part, which is I'm archiving the message to the universe. So and again, this is not the only message to the universe. You'll be able to come back in future shows, and we'll be able to. But I want you to say something, and the idea is, and it's all based on the idea that Joe Rogan's been at it now for over 1,000 episodes. You can look back and see his first episode when it was just a couch, 2 microphones inside his living room. But the thing is 50 years from now, your grandkids, great-grandkids, will be able to look back and see that conversation with their great whatever, and they'll be able to do it as long as those 3 things that I talk about don't happen. God willing, it'll last forever. So take a moment, gather your thoughts, and then just give the last goodbye and message to the universe that we're going to archive it, and then we're going to post editing. We're going to do some shit with this thing, and it'll be all in the show when it comes out, and it'll be linked and all that bullshit. So go ahead and take your moment and then tell you. Well, because this happens so fast, as I get more organized, you'll get an email and it'll be like, this is how we do the show. But since you popped up,
I would think mostly is just look at everything before you make a final decision. I think that's the most important thing. Look at all aspects of everything.
Very good.
You know, like with religion, if you're going to study a religion, if you're going to you put your faith out there, if you're going to try to make other people believe what you want to believe, study all faiths. That way you have more perspective of how they are going about their daily life, how they're going about their thing. And maybe then you can start to see that everybody has their own way. Everybody has their own religions. Everybody has their own thing. But I think the most important thing is to just look at everything before you make a judgment, before you make a decision. Look at all aspects of anything you do, because if you don't, you're probably going to make the wrong decision. You're probably going to judge that person wrongly, or judge that person, in a bad way, without ever having to look at their situation or what they're going through. And I think if you do those things, if you have a positive impact instead of a negative impact, instead of talking about all the things God hates, how about talking about all the things God loves? How about if you're going to do those things? Now, me and my personal opinion, I don't think anybody should teach God anymore. I think it's overplayed. I think it's done. I think that I think we can pretty much explain the natural universe now without having to think that somebody made it. But the only little tidbit I get that I'd love to give is just leave the world a little better than you found it. I think that's all we all have to do. It's just, leave it just a tiny bit better. Make a little bit of a difference. If you're looking down on somebody, only do it to help them up.
Very good.
And I think that's it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap, and we're going to wrap it up with this. Thank you for hanging in there with us. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Travis McCartney, drone specialist. All his information will be linked and dinked and trinked, and that way you guys can click, and get on him and get his show going, and he'll come out and film your bullshit. And thank you for all you do. Love, peace, chicken grease. We out. Thank you.
Peace.